Hi, I wanted to introduce you to my puppies. So on a daily basis, these are the guys that I hang out with. This is Boris and this is Autumn. And Boris is 2 years old and Autumn is 3 years old. As you can see, Autumn is the more well-behaved. That is not true. It's totally not true. They're both very misbehaved, but we did go to a trainer and I just enjoy them. And I wanted to introduce them because I had an episode where my very first episode, they barked really loud. And then like a couple weeks ago, I just kind of turned the camera towards them and they both started barking and ran out of the room. So anyway, I just thought I would totally like formally introduce them. Let's see if they listen to me, and I'll show off a little bit. Boris, up. No, Boris, up. Boris, sit. Puppies, stay. Voila, that's the best I can do. Now let's try something else. I'm in a really tiny room, so let's see what else we can do. Boris, off. Boris, up. Boris, sit. Very good. Good boy. Good boy. Autumn, come. Autumn, sit. Good girl. He gets jealous very easily. Autumn, up. Autumn, whoopsies, sit. Puppies, stay. So that's it. That's what we do. And I just wanted to start off the episode. I might even make this into a little short so I can make it go viral and you guys can learn the Recovery Daily Podcast puppies. These are them. Hi. He's your puppy. He's your puppy. He's your puppy. He's your puppy. Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And hopefully you saw my puppies. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, I feel a little more comfortable having them around me while I'm recording. And so there's Autumn over there. She is looking out the window. And then I'm going to slowly turn the camera around just in case any of you suffer from vestibular disorder like me. There is Boris. He is out for the count. So as I slowly turn the camera back around, you get to see my messy desk. That's where I sew and all my candy is. Okay, here we are. So today I wanted to talk about the difference between being emotionally driven and spiritually led. And sometimes I worry about getting too fluffy in these episodes. And by that, I mean, this is a word that my staff is very familiar with, this fluffiness. I want to make sure that it always has value and it makes sense. And I'm talking about information that's going to help somebody recover, help somebody if they're having a bad day, help somebody if they just can't seem to, have clarity about a certain idea. That's the difference between them having a bad day or having a good day. So I try to use, not only is that why I use words of a fifth grader, but I also really feel like language that we use on the street, if I go outside and talk to my neighbors or something like that, is the kind of language that resonates the most. And I find that when I listen to some of these self-help things and I go on to LinkedIn and I see people's posts, number one, I can see that it was AI created. because there are certain words that that are like clear signs of AI creation, but they also tend to be very, very fluffy. And although I'm no stranger to using AI and ChatGPT, as you lifetime listeners know, is who I call Chatty McChatterton. And he is my BFF, and he is my employee, and he helps me a lot in order to do research without having to do it myself and hurt my head. So instead of going into Google and putting in search terms, I go to ChatGPT. I have a paid account, so I pay $19.99 a month, and I ask it a question and have it do the work for me. So I can say, find out information about such and such, knowing that there is a chance for it to be inaccurate. But anything that I really need that's super important, I'm not going to rely on ChatGPT to get the answer. So anyway, all that being said, I try my best to not add a lot of nonsense into the episode. So I don't know why I was driven to tell you that, but that's what I'm doing. That's where we are. Okay, so here we go. So one thing that I think is the foundation of starting to shift from being emotionally driven to spiritually led is the steps of AA. So in my sobriety program, what I've learned is that steps 1, 2, and 3 can be translated to, I can't, he can, so I'll let him. And in addition, and what that means is, I am powerless over alcohol. My life has become manageable. I can find an answer in a higher power. I'm not alone. I may not have all the answers. I may not have control of people, places, and things, but my higher power does. And step 3 is, so I'll go ahead and let him do that. I will begin to have a relationship with whoever that higher power is. And if I don't have, like for me, I didn't have a really secure, confident idea of a higher power. So I had to, when I first came into the program, so I had to build that. And a lot of that for me was acting as if, until I started to actually believe in something. My version of my higher power. So in addition to that, the serenity prayer, and I'm gonna apply this over to some stroke recovery and vestibular recovery stuff. So this episode is not going to be entirely about alcohol, but probably mostly it will be. So if you don't want to hear it, you can hit pause right now. Okay, so the serenity prayer helps me to acknowledge what I can't control also, and what I can. Most importantly, though, it teaches me to pause, to make that determination, and to not react until I figure it out. Until I figure out, wait a minute, is this something I can control or not? In stroke and vestibular recovery, this is something that I've been talking about the past couple days. I've been applying step 1 to my stroke and vestibular recovery. And in the same way, I can, he can't, I can't, he can, so I will let him, is the same kind of thing. Like, just really figuring out what in my life physically can I control and what I can't. I'm powerless, as I talked about yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before, that I'm powerless over these symptoms that have been a result of my stroke. I'm powerless over the fact that they exist. I'm powerless over the fact that I had a stroke. There's nothing I can do about that. It is long gone. It is in the past. So, but what I can control is how I pause and am really thoughtful about the decisions I make to determine whether I should or should not do an activity, how long I should do it, and how fast I should do it, which is what I've also been talking about. Now, when I think about steps 2 and 3, as I have an itch in my nose, I don't know why, so I'm just going to keep doing that. As I think about steps 2 and 3, I think about this concept of a higher power as my support system in stroke and vestibular recovery. So that higher power concept is anything outside of myself, meaning I tried for 2 years. I tried to go back to work. I tried to manage my pain. I tried to get better. I tried to reclaim the life I used to have, and I couldn't. I sent myself into just utter misery. And so I realized I can't do it on my own. But my higher power, my extension of my support system can help me. My doctors, counselors, therapists, support groups, friends, family, they can help me get better. I can't do it on my own. Even these pooches that I introduced you to at the beginning of the episode, they help me also. But none of these folks are going to help me if I don't let them. And that's step 3, is asking for help, is building that relationship and nurturing and communicating to the people that I need to communicate to in order for me to heal. And I don't just mean in order for my symptoms to go away, because I don't know if they're ever going to go away, but in order for me to live and have joy in my life despite my symptoms. So AA has allowed me to be who I really am. And I've thought of it a lot this week. Because of the steps of the program, I have been able to remember what it felt like to be a little girl, to not have a dependency on anything but your mom, anything but the people around me. And AA has allowed me to start moving forward. I've been talking to a lot of chronic relapsers over the past few years, and there's a couple things that are in common that I've noticed, and I wanted to talk about it today because if I keep hearing it from multiple people, then it must be something that is just, an epidemic, really, that people feel this way. I felt this way. So the chronic relapsers in my life tell me about their past. So we're sitting here, we're in the present. Whether, they're turning to me for I want what she has. That's what we say in the program. We look at these other people in the program that are smiling and seem like they have their lives together. So we want what they have. So we just keep showing up and do what they do in order to get it. So these people who I talk to that are chronic relapsers tend to, when they talk to me, they're not talking to me about their drinking. They don't call me and say, this is what I was thinking when I picked up the alcohol. This is what I was thinking while I was drinking it. They don't revisit the journey of that day. Say they relapsed for one day, which quite honestly is not usually what happens. But it's usually much longer than that. But if somebody were to talk to me about their relapse, they don't talk to me about the drinking itself. They're talking to me about something that happened in their life, something that they were reminded of, and they'll tell me a story about something that happened to them when they were younger, or when they were a young adult, or when they were 40 years old. It doesn't matter. But they're talking to me about something in their life that has caused them to react by drinking. And what I've noticed is when they tell me this, they're waiting for me to respond in a way that validates their pain, their anger, their sadness, their resentments. They're waiting for me to say, oh, I'm so sorry. No wonder you drank. And that's never going to come out of my mouth. They want to be validated that they have a reason to feel the way that they feel. Of course you do. Of course you have a reason to feel the way that you do. There was another chronic relapser that talked to me and was just utterly pissed off and was not willing to, wanted to stop drinking, but was not willing to do anything other than not pick up a drink. And the whole time that I talked to this person, they talked about why. I'm not going to see a therapist because of this. I'm not going to go to meetings because of this. It was either I can't or I won't. And in order for me to get sober, I had to be willing to let go. I mentioned this week that it's only Tuesday, so we'll say I mentioned over the past several days that it feels like covering my eyes and falling backwards over a cliff and just hoping that something catches me, some net or something. And that's all I knew, was that there was, if you envision a cartoon where you've got this tiger stepping towards you and you know you're going to die if you stay on the cliff because the tiger's going to get you. So either you die for certain, or you just shut your eyes and fall backwards off the cliff and hope something's down there. That's what it felt like when I decided to go to AA and to go to detox. I just knew that if I didn't go, I was going to die. So I got to take the plunge. And it's not like I went to detox thinking and knowing what past pain I had to address. I had no idea. I don't think any alcoholic knows for certain what it is they're drinking over. Some people probably think they do because they've been through a major event in their life. But I bet it's not just that one event that is causing you to not be able to emotionally recover. So I spent a long time pouring alcohol over my pain, the pain of my past. And I thought that when I poured the drink, now I didn't consciously think this through, but what it felt like was if I hurt and I drink, it feels good. And it did feel good until it didn't feel good anymore. I kept drowning it with alcohol, thinking that I was killing it, the pain, but the pain was just sinking to the bottom of the pool, hiding out and waiting till the pool ran dry until it could come to the surface again. And it was still there. My psychiatrist talked to me. I mentioned this about a month ago, I think, that I was always talking about in here how you can choose happy. You can choose your feelings. You can choose it. And I said it confidently. And what she reminded me of is, Rachel, you can choose a path to happiness, but you can't ignore the pain and the emotions that precede it. You have to process the emotions in order to get to the place of happiness. And I spent years stirring up these painful emotions that was a result of what someone said to me, or how I was treated, or something that happened that I didn't deal with. And what I was doing was this ignorant way, that sounds really mean, but you know what I mean, of choosing happiness. I was just grabbing a bottle. That was me choosing happiness, because I knew that if I drank this, then everything was fine. And this is why I stood still in my life. I've talked about how I've always felt like I was standing still in my life while my brother and my sister were moving forward. And we all got married. We all had kids. But I was mourning for the past, while they seemed to be excited about their future and planning for the future. I mourned for a past era in my life when my mom and my sister and my brother were home together. We lived in this townhouse in Leesburg. Nobody had gone off to college. Everyone needed each other. And every night I went to bed and I knew that they were all there. We were all under the same roof. And one by one, they left. And, you know, there was only two of them. So one by one, they left. And I was never prepared for that. And I didn't know what to do with it. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. I don't know what other families do. I just know that it was painful for me to be left behind. And that's what I felt like. I felt like I was left behind. They have, they call it, what do they call it? Empty nest syndrome. But they're talking about parents when they talk about empty nest syndrome. But younger siblings can also experience empty nest syndrome, that same feeling, that those range of emotions when an older sibling leaves home. Sadness, loneliness, loss, anxiety. I have a lump in my throat thinking about it. The youngest siblings, which is me, are more likely to feel this kind of sadness because, you know, this is a great example. You know, when you're dating somebody when you're young and that person goes off to the beach or something with their family or friends for a week, and you are left behind. You are left in your hometown, like working at your crappy job or whatever, and you feel sad and left behind, lonely. And in the meantime, that person who has gone off to the beach with their friends and family is, you imagine, they are being introduced to all new, exciting, fun things in their life. And they are starting to learn how to love life and have fun without you. And that's what I imagined it felt. That's what I imagined was happening when my brother and my sister left. I felt like I just felt sad. So I know you guys are, my sister's going to be listening. So, my brother probably not, but that's okay. And when I went to, so before I get there, this kind of feeling can affect a person's self-esteem. It can affect relationships, and it has proven to affect people's personality development. There are different things that people can do to cope with feelings, and it's all different, right? It's always different. These younger siblings can feel a lot of pain and loneliness, and what do you do? What do you do with that? Because as a younger person, you don't really even know why you're feeling that way. You know that you're sad. You know, when my older brother left for college, I was really upset. I was used to having him around, and then suddenly he was gone. And it was a big adjustment at that time. I was then the only child at home, and I didn't have my brother there anymore. He was a senior in high school when I was a freshman. So he was 4 years older than me. And I really did see him as one of my best friends. And 4 years before that, my older sister had left and gone off to college. So I think I was in 5th grade when she went off to college. That seems so young. Is that right? Yeah, she's 8 years older than me. So I didn't even know at that time when my sister left that what was college. You know, she's going away for a while and then she's going to come back. I didn't know that she was not going to come back. But when my brother left 4 years later, having seen that my sister never came back, I understood that when he was leaving, he wasn't going to come back. And he didn't. So when he graduated from college, then he moved to the West Coast. He moved to Lake Tahoe. And that was just another layer of what felt like abandonment to me. And again, he didn't do anything wrong. My sister didn't do anything wrong. They were living their lives. You know, they were becoming independent. But as a 5-year-old, or not a 5-year-old, as a 5th grader and a 9th grader, when these two left my life changed. And this feeling of abandonment, I've had it my whole life. It has transferred over to when my kids left for college. I really struggled when my son left for college. it was so incredibly painful, and I had no idea what to do with that pain. I knew that he wasn't going to come back. And I knew that it's painful for parents when their kids leave and go to college. And I'm not saying that my pain was worse than another parent's, but I know that my reaction to that pain was not healthy. I didn't call him. I didn't call him at college because I had some screwed up thought process around that. I thought that I was setting him free, and I thought that he was moving on and starting his life, and it was supposed to mirror the experience I had with my brother, but it wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to call him, and I was supposed to be a mom, and I was supposed to understand that no matter how far or how long he's gone, he's never too far away to have his mom. But I had pain left over from what I had experienced earlier in my life. And I had to see when I got sober. So I got sober, I think it was the first year that he went off to college. I think he was in college for a full semester already, and then a half a semester before I got sober. That's what I think, without me stopping to think through the dates. But I was dealing with that, and also dealing with getting sober. Thankfully, I started talking to an addiction counselor when I got out of my detox facility, and she quickly determined that I was displaying a victim mindset. And I'm so happy that she was a great therapist and gave me helpful advice, actionable advice, and allowed me to begin to unravel that pain, that when people go away, when people go away, I can pick up the phone and call them. For the longest time, forever, I felt like when people go away, then I'm supposed to sit back and wait for them to call. And they never call. If they do call, eventually they're going to stop calling. I even had a great friend of mine who lived out in West Virginia with me, and we had the best time for several years drinking. And it was truly just fun she was a neighbor of mine, and we became really good friends really quickly. And then they decided to move because her husband was getting a new job. And the way I reacted to it was I stopped going to her house. When I found out she was moving, I stopped talking to her. And finally, she was like, you're avoiding me. And I was like, yeah, you have to rip off the Band-Aid. So just go, just go. And it was difficult. I remember crying, and I still have a lump in my throat about it because I know that feeling. It's terrible. I hate when people go away because I guess I haven't realized that it takes so much work, so much more work to stay in touch with each other when you're not just living together or living near each other, So in relation, I am going to get to the point here towards the end, because what I'm doing is I'm talking about what has affected me in my past. And this is the same kind of thing that a relapser talks about. But what they don't do is apply it to their drinking and apply a solution to it, if that makes sense. So in my recent psychiatrist appointment, we talked again about this abandonment issue, this repeated theme in my life, and renewed that sense of it being a daily, I have to work at it every day. There are families, when we're younger and we're going through our teens and then our 20s and then our 30s, our families have a certain rhythm and a certain dynamic at each phase of our family's lives together. And when each child leaves home, for example, that rhythm and that dynamic changes. That change is something that not everybody knows how to deal with, and I'm one of those people. Thankfully, my husband and my psychiatrist are helping me to recognize that it's just a new rhythm. While also losing my job because of my health conditions and dealing with this chronic condition, it's dangerous for me to feel abandoned, to feel like it's dangerous for me to not get used to a new rhythm in my life and a new dynamic. And this new rhythm and new dynamic in our lives happens when we quit drinking as well. It happened when I had my stroke. It happened when my symptoms became overwhelming and I had to leave my job. Each part of these, each phase in my life is a new rhythm, and I'm tapping off beat, and I have to figure that out. If I let my emotions drive my behavior, I'm going to inadvertently lose those people in my life who have made changes to theirs. And the way that will come out is I just start pulling away. I just stop responding. I stop showing up. I just pull the Band-Aid off. If you're going to go. And I'm going to, my circle is going to get a little bit smaller. And what I'm doing is I'm increasing my own pain, and I'm giving myself a purpose, a reason to feel bad. And what's dangerous is if I feel that way, again, I'm going to drink. So when I hear these chronic relapsers and they're talking about this same pain, I'm beginning to see that it is, in simple terms, they haven't let it go. But I don't like to say let it go, because let it go, although it sounds simple, is so freaking difficult. The easiest way that I've been able to learn how to let something go is to use my God box. But that's not going to work for everybody. So the chronic relapsers, what I try to do is redirect the thoughts about what you're ruminating over that has happened in your past, what your mother may have said to you when you were 18, that kind of thing. change it to what can you do about it now? Because if you just keep ruminating over what your mother said to you when you were 18, she's saying the same thing to you every day of your life. That's what you're doing. You're reliving that pain every day of your life that you think about it. And when I let the steps of my program, which have taught me about what spirituality is, not religion, they taught me about what spirituality is, that guides me. And when I let the steps and spirituality guide me, I end up nurturing relationships. The relationships with people that I felt hurt by in the past. Now, I want to be clear. My brother and my sister leaving, I don't feel hurt by them. I feel that I was suffering my own emotional battle. I didn't know how to process. I didn't know how to process somebody leaving and knowing how to reach out to them. I was a little young to know how to call, when to call, and stuff like that. But they were also moving on and moving out, moving bigger and adding things to their life. So there are reasons why we all did what we did. And I can't ruminate on that, because when I do, it's like they're leaving me again every day of my life. Why am I going to do that? Why don't I lean into the steps of my program, which tell me how to forgive, how to understand what my role is in my relationships, and how to be gentle with myself, how to not let all of these emotions and pain be my higher power. So this is something, PAWS. She is digging a place for her to lay down. So I'm going to make her stop. It's cute, right? Autumn, stop. Sit. We're going to wait for her. No, Autumn, stop. Autumn, sit. Thank you. We're doing a podcast right now. How rude. Okay, we're almost done. So, when I use the steps, I'm more likely to be introspective and self-caring rather than constantly pointing the finger on what is causing me to feel the way that I feel. Nobody makes me feel what I feel. It's my choice to feel what I feel. And no, I'm not saying that I get to just ignore my pain and choose happiness like my psychiatrist taught me I can't do. But I can pause and do the next right thing that's going to move me in the direction of happiness. And I can let my spirituality lead me through practicing mindfulness, meditation, and being of service to others. And this is a big one. This is such a big one. When I stop and look outward and think, this month is acts of kindness for other people month for us, for this podcast community. And when I stop in the middle of my day and think, okay, what can I do for somebody today? Immediately, I feel better. it's fascinating. Immediately, I get out of my own way. I get out of any obsessive, emotional nonsense that I'm letting swallow me. And I start thinking about others. And it not only helps me not feel like a victim of my stroke, a victim of my alcoholism, a victim of my kids leaving and going off to live their own lives, you name it. I could be the victim of everything in the world. I'm the victim of my loved ones passing. I'm the victim of whatever. And if I just stop and think, who can I do something nice for? I immediately am not a victim anymore. And it strengthens relationships around me. I really, really enjoy it. It's strange that I was so self-absorbed that I never took the time to even think about what to do for other people. When I met my husband, he was already like that. He was already doing things for other people constantly. He was thinking of people in ways that I never even thought about thinking of other people. And he taught me how to be a little less selfish. Of course, he never called me selfish, but man, I have been selfish the majority of my life. And it feels so good to recognize that that I don't have to think about myself all the time. What a relief to not have to think about myself all the time. And so these are the things that I can control. I can't control what other people are doing in their lives that may hurt my feelings. But what I can do is make a decision to be gentle with myself. And when I do that, when I practice these steps of my program and I let spirituality lead me instead of letting my emotions drive my behavior, this is when my true self really shines. And I've learned this in AA, and it feels so good to finally be comfortable inside of me. So thank you for joining my podcast episode today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.